Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So, Miss Rushita, you have a doubt in illustration number 3. Just give me a minute. We'll discuss first. What is illustration number 3? See, in illustration 3, they have written that if you are opting for 44AE and if you are having less than 10 goods, heavy goods vehicle, and you are providing declaration to the provider, to the contract, to the person who is given contract to you, then in that, and if you are providing your PAN, then in that case, the payer will not deduct TDS, and the same limit is 35,000 for transport operator. The 48th disallowance is regarding the cash payment, my dear friend. That you will studied in that you have already studied in chapter number chapter PGBP. Okay, so now let us discuss with section 194 IB, that is payment of rent by certain individual or Hindu undivided family. Now, my dear friend, up till now, we have discussed the provision like 194C, 194 I, that is rent. Okay, so in case of rent, the relaxation is given to individual and HUF, right? That the individual, if the individual or HUF is having turnover, if they are in business and their turnover is less than 1 crore during previous financial year, during last financial year, and if they are into profession, and if their professional receipts are less than 50 lakh rupees in last financial year, then they are not required to deduct TDS under section 194I. That is on rent, right? So this section is applicable to those individual and HUF only who is not required to deduct TDS under section 194I. That is in the last financial year, if they are into the business, then their turnover from business is less than 1 crore, or if they are into the profession, then their turnover is less than 50 lakh rupees. Okay. So this provision is applicable to those individuals to whom the relaxation is given under section 194I. Okay, so section 194I be required any person being an individual or HUF other than those individual or HUF whose turnover, sales, gross receipt from business or profession exceeds 1 crore in case of business and 50 lakh in case of profession in the financial year immediately preceding the financial year in which rent was credited or paid. So, my dear friend, if you are an individual and your turnover in the last financial year is more than 1 crore, then you are required to deduct TDS under section 194I. So, section 194IB is not applicable in your case. Okay. Here, the rate of TDS is 5%. Rate of TDS is 5%. When TDS is required to be deducted, that is very important, my dear friend. This para is very important. Under this section, tax has to be deducted at source only if the amount of such rent exceeds 50,000 for a month or part of a month during the previous year. So, my dear friend, if you are given a property to someone, say for example, I am an individual and I am giving my property to someone for on a rent. Okay, and the rent per month rent is more than 50,000. Say for example, per month rent is 55,000. Okay, then in that case, the payer of rent is required to deduct TDS under section 194 IB. Okay, so here when the TDS liability comes, if the rent per month rent or part of month rent is more than 50,000 rupees. So if the rent is less than 50,000, then no TDS is required to be deducted. Now, when TDS is required to be deducted? So up till now, we have studied that the TDS is required to be deducted at the time of payment or credit, whichever is earlier in majority cases, right? Or at the time of payment. But here in this section, the TDS is required to be deducted at the time of payment or credit, whichever is earlier from the rent of last month of the previous year. Or if the tenancy period is less than 12 months, then from the last month of tenancy period. So here, my dear friend, TDS is not required to be deducted every month. TDS is required to be deducted at the time from the rent of last month. That is the rent of last month of the previous year or last month of the tenancy, if the tenancy period is less than 12 months. No, Krishna, you are confusing. If turnover is less than 1 crore, you can opt for presumptive taxation. Nothing is exempt. Now here also, my dear friend, no requirement to obtain 10. So for filing of return of TDS, that is as a payer, I need to inform to the government that I have deducted tax of that person for X person of so much amount. Okay. So for that, I need to file TDS return. So TDS is return generally filed via 10, that is tax deduction account number. But for section 194 IB, no TAN is required to be obtained. You can file your TDS return through PAN only. Now rent means lease, sublease, tenancy, any other agreement, arrangement, anything is considered as rent. Now the sixth point is very important, my dear friend. Say for example, as per I'll explain section 206 AA here only. It is at later stage. But as per section 206 AA, if the payee is not provided PAN to you, say for example, Mr. X is payer and Mr. Y is payee. Okay, so Mr. Y need to provide his PAN to Mr. X. Say for example, if Mr. Y has not provided his PAN to Mr. X, then in that case, Mr. X will deduct TDS at higher rate, that is higher of 3. Higher of 3. So higher of 3 means first rate prescribed in the section. So in section in current section, the rate prescribed in section is 5%. Rate in force, that is rate prescribed by Finance Act for particular section, that is also 5%, and 20%, whichever is higher, and 20%, whichever is higher. So here the maximum rate of TDS is 20%. So if the payee has not provided his PAN to the payer, then the payer is required to deduct TDS at the rate of 20%. Now, my dear friend, here, if my here in this section, I have to deduct TDS from the rent of last month. Now the payee has not provided his PAN. So what should I do? I will deduct TDS at the rate of 20% from the last month's rent. But my last month rent is less than the amount of TDS. If my because the TDS is required to be deducted for the rent, for the amount of entire year's rent. Okay, the TDS is required to be deducted entire year's rent, but the TDS is required to be deducted from last month of the rent. So my last month rent is not sufficient to the extent of TDS. I'm not writing Kavita right now. I'm just explaining. Sushil Kumar, 10 is important if the TDS is required to be deducted in other section like 194C, 194J, 194I, and it should be an online application. So if the TDS amount is more than the last month rent amount, then the TDS is restricted to the rent of last month only. Okay, you will get better understanding of this point with illustration number 8. Let us discuss illustration number 8. Mr. X, a salaried individual, pay a rent of 55,000 per month to Mr. Y from June 2022. Is he required to deduct tax at source? If so, when is he required to deduct tax? Also compute the amount of tax to be deducted at source. Now here, my dear friend, Rushita, if the property is vacant in last month, then TDS is required to be deducted from the rent of last month. That we'll discuss here, it is given. So say for here in the illustration number 8, Mr. X is a salaried employee and pay rent of 55,000. That's the, here the Mr. X is salaried. So last year there was no business, right? So section 194I is not applicable. But here the rent is more than 50,000 per month. Okay, so Mr. X is required to deduct TDS under section 194IB. So he started paying rent from June 2022. Here nothing is given when the property is vacated, therefore up to 31st March it is on rent. So here in this case, Mr. X is required to deduct 55,000 into June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. 10 months rent into 5%. So is equals to 27,500 rupees. So this 27,500 is my TDS amount, right? So this 25,700 is required to be deducted from rent of last month. That is rent of March month. Is that clear, everyone? First point is clear? Yes or no, everyone? Everyone clear with the first point? Yes or no? Please answer, everyone. Clear with the first point? Yes or no? Kavita, Krishna, Sushil, Rushita, please answer fast. Okay. Now what they have written. Would your answer change if Mr. X vacated the premises on 31st December 22? So before completion of previous year, the property was vacated by Mr. X. So what is the last month of tenancy? It is December, 31st December, because he vacated the property in the December 22. So December 22 is the last month of vacancy. So here what is the tenancy period? Tenancy period is from June to December. June, July, August, September, October, November, December, 7 months. So 55,000 per month into 7 months into 5%. Okay. So what? So here the answer is 19,500. 55,000 per month rent into 7-month tenancy period into 5%. So it comes to 19,250. So 19,250 TDS is required to be deducted from the rent of December month. That is the rent of last tenancy month. Is that clear? Rishita, आपको डाउट था, क्लियर हो गया? Yes or no? Rishita, clear? Yes or no, Rishita? Please answer fast, everyone. If Mr. Y does not provide his PAN to Mr. X, so in that case, the TDS is required to be deducted at the rate of 20%, right? So now in first point, that is 55,000 rent into 10 months. Here, 55,000 rent into 10 months into 20%, right? So it comes to 1,10,000 TDS. But here, my dear friend, my last month rent amount is only 55,000, right? My last month rent amount is only 55,000 rupees. So in that case, my TDS is restricted to only 55,000 because I have already paid the rent up till February, right? The rent payment is pending only with respect to March month. Now, my rent amount is 55,000, but my TDS comes to 1,10,000. Therefore, my TDS is restricted to the amount of 55,000. That is the amount of last rent of last month. Okay. Now, my dear friend, in the second case, we have given the property for 7 months, right? 7 months into 20%, right? So the TDS comes to 77,000. But here also my last month rent, that is the rent of December, is only 55,000. So here also my TDS is restricted to 55,000 only. Is that clear, everyone? Now clear? What is the provision of 20%? Clear? Because Mr. Y has not provided his PAN, Mr. X is required to deduct TDS at the rate of 20%, and the TDS is more than the rent of last month. Therefore, the TDS is required to be deducted only to the amount of last month rent only. No, nothing is lost to the government because when filing the return of income, Mr. X will offer the income from house property 77,000 only, and he will pay tax on 77,000. That means on the rent, he will offer rent to the government 55,000 into 7 months, and he will pay the taxes accordingly. So there is no loss on account of revenue. Clear? Just go through the question again, and if you are having any doubt, just let me know. After that, we'll discuss the next section. Just go through quickly. I'm just trying to reconnect my iPad. Mr. Manish. Just give me 2 minutes now. I'm reconnecting my iPad. Can I do that? Okay. So Sushil, your doubt is here, my dear friend, Mr. Y need to provide his PAN to Mr. X, not Mr. X. Here, the recipient of rent is Mr. Y, not Mr. X. So if Mr. Y does not provide his PAN to Mr. X, then Mr. X will deduct TDS at 20% from last month of rent. Is that clear? Yes, Mohammed, the 194 IB is applicable when the payment is made to resident. Shall we go to next section? Next is section 194 IC, that is payment under specified agreement. Now, what is specified agreement? So the specified agreement you have already studied under section 194, under section 45, subsection 5A. That is, I'll just explain it in brief. That is, if the payer, if there is one landowner and the another is developer, that is realist builder. Okay, so both are making the agreement that we will construct a building and the landowner will get some consideration in cash plus consideration in cash plus the flat in the newly constructed building. So it is taxable in the hand of landowner when the completion certificate of that building is received, and the sale consideration for the land is cash plus stamp duty value of the flat received by the landowner. That is the specified agreement. So when the developer of building, that is builder, is making payment in cash, okay, so on cash component, the developer will deduct TDS at the rate of 10%. The TDS is required to be deducted at the time of credit or at the time of payment, whichever is earlier. Here, the landowner is transferring his property to the developer for the development of building, but the section 194 IA, that is transfer of immovable property, is not applicable. TDS on transfer of immovable property is not applicable. Why? Because the separate provision section 194 IC is provided for the specified agreement. Is that clear, everyone? Just go through the provision. I'll give you 1 minute, and if you are having any doubt, please let me know quickly. If you are having any doubt under section 194 IC, please let me know quickly, my dear friend. After that, we'll discuss section 194J, that is fees for professional or technical services. Everyone clear with section 194 IC? Yes or no? Mohammed, see, my dear friend, you all are getting confused. What we have to do is, say for example, my income is 10 lakh rupees. Then the professional income on which TDS is already deducted, I have to calculate tax liability on 10 lakh. Whatever my tax liability comes, from that tax liability, the TDS amount is required to be deducted. Why? Because I have Someone is already deposited from my income to the government. So the balance I need to pay to the government if this balance is positive. If this balance is negative, then government will give the refund to me. Okay. So whatever is your income, you have to calculate the final tax liability, and from your final tax liability, the TDS amount is required to be deducted. Is that clear, Mohammed? Balance is not TDS. Balance is your self-assessment tax, because that is paid by you only, directly to the government, not paid by someone else on your behalf. Is that clear, Mohammed? Please reply fast, my dear friend. So next is section 194J, that is fees for professional or technical services. So if you are providing any professional or technical services, then the payer is required to deduct TDS under section 194J. Now here also, the relaxation is given to those individual on NHUF whose turnover from the last year from business is less than 1 crore and professional receipt less than 50 lakh in the last financial year. Then they are not required to deduct TDS under section 194G. Okay. So in this question, because payer need to inform to the government that I have deducted TDS of that person, because see, the puja name is, there are a lot of person whose name is Puja. So on whose account the TDS is deposited. So it is because it is to be required to be informed to the government through PAN wise. That's why the PAN is mandatory. Otherwise, I will write down that I have deducted TDS of Miss Preeti. Now, who is Preeti? There are so many Preeti in the country, right? So PAN is unique to every individual, partnership firm, everyone. So PAN is mandatory. Clear, Darshan? So here the TDS is required to be deducted on fees for professional services, fees for technical service, or any remuneration or fee or commission by whatever name called other than those on which tax is required to be deducted under section 192 to a director of a company, that is sitting fees. Because remuneration to the director is considered as salary and TDS is required to be deducted under section 192. But sitting fees is not required to, sitting fees is not considered as remuneration. Therefore, TDS on sitting fees, TDS is required to be deducted under section 194G. Royalty, non-compete fees. You have already studied the meaning of non-compete fees in chapter PGBP. Shall deduct tax at source at 2% in case of fees for technical service not being professional service, or royalty in the nature of consideration for sale, distribution, or exhibition of cinematographic film. So in these two cases, the TDS is required to be deducted at the rate of 2%. That is fees for technical service and royalty in the nature of sale, distribution, or exhibition of cinematographic film only. So other than cinematographic film, TDS is required to be deducted at 10% only, and 10% in any other cases. However, in case of pay engage only in the business of operation of call center, the tax is required to be deducted at 2%. So if your business is operation of call center, then on any payment, you need to deduct TDS at the rate of 2% under section 194J For professional service, for technical service, or for any royalty. Is that clear, everyone? Yes or no? The time of deduction of TDS is credit or payment, whichever is earlier. The time of deduction of TDS is payment or credit, whichever is earlier. Is that clear, everyone? Up till now it is clear, yes or no? Next is the threshold limit. No tax deduction is required if the amount of fees or aggregate of amount of fees credited or paid or likely to be credited or paid during a financial year does not exceed 30,000 in case of, see, here the 30,000 limit is given separately for every service. That is 30,000 limit is for fees for professional service, 30,000 for fees for technical service, 30,000 for fees for royalty, and 30,000 for non-compete fees. So here, my dear friend, 30,000 limit is given for every services separately. Okay, but here the limit of 30,000 is not given for the remuneration. For the sitting fees to the director. So whatever amount of sitting fees you are paying to the director, you need to deduct TDS at the rate of 10% under section 194G. Okay. Keshav, payment means actually you are making payment. Okay, and the credit means when you are passing entry in the books of account for payable. That is credit in the books of account. Here it is given that there is no such exemption limit for deduction of tax on any remuneration or fees or commission payable to director of a company. Yeah. So the table is given here. Let us discuss illustration number 9. XYZ Limited make a payment of 28,000 to Mr. Ganesh. My dear friend, TDS is required to be deducted by payer, not the payee. So the business of payer is required to be checked, not the payee's business is required to be checked. Payee is providing professional service, Muhammad. The payer should be in the call center business. Then only on professional services, the call center will deduct TDS at the rate of 2%. So if you are providing services to call center and the call center operator will deduct TDS, then the rate of TDS is 2% only for professional services or technical service, only under this section. If you are providing contract, then the rate of TDS is as per section 194C. If you are giving your property on rent, then the TDS is as per section 194I. XYZ make payment of 28,000 to Mr. Ganesh on 2nd August 22 towards fees for professional service and another payment of 25,000 to him on the same day towards fees for technical service. Discuss whether TDS provision under section 194J are attracted. So here, my dear friend, the payer is XYZ Limited, so no relaxation is provided. The payment of fees for professional services 28,000. It is less than 30,000, so TDS is not required to be deducted. Same fees for technical services 25,000. That is less than 30,000 because we need to check the limit of 30,000 separately for each services. Okay, so 30,000 for professional services. It is less than 30,000. TDS is not required to be deducted. For technical service, the threshold is 30,000. In our case, it is 25,000. So no TDS is required to be deducted. No, my dear friend. See, for example, no, Darshan. Say, for example, here instead of 25,000, if technical service fees for technical service is 35,000, then TDS is required to be deducted only on technical services because 30,000 limit is separately given for each services. Okay. This I have already explained. Those individual in HF whose turnover in the last financial year is less than 1 crore, TDS is not required to be deducted under section 194G. Now, meaning of professional services are same as given under section 44AA. That is authorized representative, film artist, company secretary, information technology. Other persons are notified by the government for 194J. It is sports person. So if we are taking any services from sports person, that is, say for example, our Indian players are playing cricket on behalf of India, then they are rendering professional services. So on payment made to them, the TDS is required to be deducted under section 194J. Then occasion you will get notice for non-filing of return and the government will levy penalty. It is at your final level. So kindly wait till time. Umpire, referee, coach, trainer, team physician, physiotherapist, event manager, commentator, anchor, sports columnist. Okay. So on those services, they are notified for section 194J and TDS is required to be deducted. For other services like teaching. Okay, so teaching is not prescribed under the specified professional services under section 194J. So TDS is not required to be deducted on that services. Fees for technical service means any consideration for rendering any of the managerial services, technical service, consultancy, provision for technical. Say, for example, you are taking some machinery and for the operation of machinery, you are obtaining the services, technical services, how to operate the machine and etc. Okay. TPAs, that is third party administrator. See what happens if you are taking insurance. Then on behalf of insurance, see, if you are taking any medical insurance, then you, and if it is a cashless, then you need not to pay anything to the hospital. If you are hospitalized, the insurance company will pay the same. So insurance company will appoint the TPA, that is third party administrator. They will make the payment on behalf of hospitals. Okay. So when TPAs are making payment on behalf of insurance company to the hospitals, then the TPA is required to deduct under section 194J because the hospital is provided various medical services to the patients. Okay. Is that clear, everyone? Up till now, it is clear? Yes or no? Please reply. Everyone, yes or no, please reply fast. Next is consideration for use or right to use of computer software is royalty within the meaning of section 9 subsection 1 clause 6. So if you are using any software on your computer and you are making payment for the use of that software, then that payment is considered as royalty and you need to deduct TDS under section 194J. Whether the software is provided directly through link, the software operator will provide you the link and you need to click on link and you can use the software, or the software is provided through on CD, DVD, or it is directly installed on your computer. Okay. So for use of software, if you are making any payment, then that payment is considered as royalty and you need to deduct TDS under section 194J on payment of use of that software. Clear, everyone? Up till now, it is clear. Can we move forward to section 194K? Please reply, everyone, fast. Income in respect of units. See, it is income from unit of mutual fund. Okay. So if you are investing anything in the mutual fund, okay, and you will get income from that mutual fund, that is, you can get income as dividend from mutual fund or interest from mutual fund. Then in that case, the payer, that is the mutual fund company, will deduct TDS under section 194K at the time of payment or credit, whichever is earlier of that sum. If this section is applicable only in case if the payee is resident. Okay, and the rate of TDS is 10%. It is same as dividend. We have studied under section 194. Non-applicability. So this section is not applicable when the amount paid by mutual fund company to you during the financial year is less than 5,000 rupees, or the income is in the nature of capital gain. When the income is considered to be in the nature of capital gain, when you sold the mutual fund. When you sold the mutual fund, then the capital gain will arise. Okay. So at that time, the income is considered as capital gain, and at that time, TDS is not required to be deducted. Is that clear, everyone? Everyone clear with section 194K? Yes or no? Next is section 194LA, that is payment of compensation on acquisition of certain immovable property. See, when we have discussed section 194IA, that is payment on transfer of immovable property, at that time we have studied that if the stamp duty value or the consideration, whichever is higher, is more than 50,000 rupees, 50 lakh rupees, then the payer is required to deduct TDS under section 194IA at the rate of 1%, right? But in that provision, I have already told you that, see, if it is a compulsory acquisition by the government, then this provision is not applicable because separate provision section 194LA is given. Okay, so here the as per section 194LA is applicable only and only in case when there is compulsory acquisition of property. In case of compulsory acquisition, you will get two type of payment. That is, first is compensation. The second is enhanced compensation. Right? So in that case, here the payer is government. Okay. And this provision is not applicable in case of rural agricultural land, because rural agricultural land is outside the purview of capital asset, and tax is not applicable. That's why. So when government compulsorily acquired your property and will make the payment, then at the time of payment, here the time the TDS is required to be deducted at the time of payment only. Here the rate of TDS is 10% and the threshold is 2,50,000. If the consideration is less than 2,50,000, then TDS is not required to be deducted. Keshav, I guess you have not attended the last lecture. And last lecture I have explained the provision of section 194H, that is commission. On commission, the rate of TDS is 5%. That we have already discussed in the previous lecture. On commission, the rate of TDS is 5% and the section is 194H. I have not explained anything regarding commission today. No, Darshan, the interest is not applicable here. It is only for compensation or enhanced compensation, not for interest. Keshav, clear? Why you have this doubt in current lecture? Because I have not explained anything regarding commission in the current lecture, in today's session. Yes, obviously government directly deduct TDS, but you will get the credit. So whatever amount of tax you need to pay, the TDS amount is required to be deducted from that amount. See, my dear friend, the government who is paying for compulsory acquisition and the government who is the revenue authority, both are different. Is that clear, everyone? Up till now, everyone clear? Chalo, next is payment made by individual or HUF for contract work, commission, brokerage fees for professional service. Now you have question that, ma'am, we have already studied the TDS for contract under section 194C, commission under section 194H, fees for professional service under section 194J, then why section 194M? So in section 194C, 194H and 194J. Obviously, Mumad, the TDS is required to be deducted at the time of payment. So whatever amount government will pay on compensation or enhanced compensation, they will deduct TDS. And this section we have studied that individual and HUF whose turnover is less than 1 crore in last financial year, or professional receipt less than 50 lakh in last financial year, then they are not required to deduct tax under section 194C, 194H, and 194J. Everyone clear with this? Yes or no? If you are an individual in HUF, you are making payment on account of contract, and in last financial year, if your turnover is less than 1 crore, then in current year, section 194C is not applicable, and you are not required to deduct TDS under section 194C. Okay. So those individual in HUF who is not required to deduct TDS under section 194C for pay contract, 194H for commission, and 194J for fees for technical service, and if they are making payment for these three services aggregately or independently more than 50 lakh rupees, then they need to deduct TDS under section 194M at the rate of 5%. At the rate of 5%. The time of deduction is payment or credit, whichever is earlier. Threshold is 50 lakh. If you are making payment, say for example, I am making payment of contract 10 lakh commission and 10 lakh fees for professional services. So the aggregate of this three is 30 lakh rupees. So it is less than 50 lakh. Then 194M is not applicable, and I don't need to pay any TDS under section 194M also. Okay. This provision is not applicable in case of those individual in HUF who are liable to deduct TDS under section 194C. That means if you are an individual and in last financial year your turnover is more than 1 crore, then you need to deduct TDS under section 194C for contract, 194H for commission, and 194J for fees for technical services or professional services. Right? Then section 194M is not applicable. 194M is applicable only in that case when TDS is not required to be deducted under section 194C, 194H, or 194J. Here also, you no need to obtain TAN. You can file TDS return through PAN only. Up till now, it is clear, everyone? Yes or no? Yes or no, everyone? Up till now, it is clear. Please answer fast, everyone. Yes or no? Next is, see, you have deducted TDS of someone, so you need to inform to the government. So in three sections, that is section 194IA, 194IB, and 194M. Sorry. We have studied that TAN is not required. We can file the TDS return through PAN. So the time limit for filing, see, here you have deducted TDS. You need to pay to the government the TDS amount because it is not yours, it is someone else. Okay. So you need to pay the TDS to the government within 30 days from the end of month in which TDS is deducted. So say for example, I have deducted TDS under section 194 in the month of June. Varsha, to those individual and HUF to whom section 194C, 194H, and 194J is not applicable, and if they are making payment for contract, professional services, or commission more than 50 lakh rupees, then they need to deduct TDS under section 194M. Simple. Then you need to pay to the government till 31st July TDS amount through Chalankam statement, that is 26 QB for if TDS is deducted under section 194IA, 24 QC, it is the name of Chalan cum statement. It is the form like ITR 1, ITR 2, ITR 3 we need to file while filing the return of income. That same thing. These are the name of form. So 26 QC if TDS is deducted under 194 IB and 26 QD if TDS is deducted under section 194 M. You can deposit. See, you have deducted TDS, you need to deposit to the government. So you can deposit through electronic means or by way of check or anything to the government. After remitting to the government, you need to provide certificate, TDS certificate that, say for example, someone is deducted TDS of mine under section 194M. Then they need to provide certificate to me that on this payment, I have deducted this amount of TDS. So this TDS certificate is in the form 16B if TDS is deducted under 194 IA, 16C if TDS is deducted under 194 IB, and 16D if TDS is deducted under section 194 M. Examine, chalo, illustration number 10. Varsha, you will get better understanding with illustration number 10. Whether TDS provision would be attracted in the following case, and if so, under which section? Also specify the rate of TDS applicability in case. Assume that all the payments are made to resident. Chalo, directly we'll discuss through answer only. So Mr. Ganesh, an individual carrying on retail business with turnover of 2.5 crores in the financial year 21-22. He is making payment for contract for repair of residential house. An aggregate of payment in financial year 20-23 is 5 lakh. So Mr. Ganesh is an individual. Last year his turnover is 2.5 crore. So in current year, if he is making any payment on account of contract, then TDS need to be deducted under section 194C. Yes or no? Because 194C says that if your turnover in the last financial year is less than 1 crore, then only TDS is not required to be deducted under section 194C. But here, the turnover in the last financial year is more than 1 crore. So if he is making any payment for contract in current year, then he need to deduct TDS under section 194C. Now in financial year 20-23, he is making contract payment for 5 lakh rupees for repair of residential house. My dear friend, repair of residential house is personal services. It is for personal purpose. Under section 194C, we have studied that section 194C is not applicable if you are making any payment for personal purpose. Okay, so 194C is not attracted. Why? Because I am making payment for personal purposes. Same 194M is also not applicable. Why? Because the payment is less than 50 lakh rupees. Because the payment is less than 50 lakh rupees. Next is payment of commission to Mr. Valish for business purpose 80,000. Here, my dear friend, Mr. Ganesh turnover in last financial year is more than 1 crore. Yes, if he is making any payment more than 15,000 as commission, then he need to deduct TDS under section 194H on entire amount of 80,000 at the rate of 5%. Yes or no? So here section 194H is applicable and 194M is not applicable. Why 194H? Because in last financial year, his turnover is more than 1 crore. Clear with point number 1, everyone? Yes or no? Everyone clear with point number 1? Yes or no? Please reply. Next point is Mr. Rajesh, a wholesale trader whose turnover was 95 lakh in financial year in previous year 21-22. So in last financial year, his turnover is less than 1 crore. So 194C, 194H and 194G is not applicable. In current year, he is making payment of 55 lakh for construction or reconstruction of residential house. It is for personal purpose. But the payment is more than 50 lakh. So TDS is required to be deducted under section 194M. See, 194C is not applicable because last year the turnover is less than 1 crore. Okay, but 194M is applicable because the payment is more than 50 lakh, and under section 194M, nothing is given that if your if the service is for personal purpose, you need not to deduct TTS. Okay, so even if it is for personal purpose and 194C is not applicable, then 194M is applicable. Clear? Third, Mr. Satish, individual, salaried individual. My dear friend, if he is salaried individual, that means he does not have any business income. Payment of brokerage for buying a residential house. C194H is not applicable because he does not have any business in the last year because he is salaried employee. The amount of payment of brokerage is more than 50 lakh rupees. It is 51 lakh. So TDS is applicable under section 194M. So 5% TDS on 51 lakh is need to be required under section 194M. Mr. Dheeraj, a pensioner. Mr. Dheeraj is pensioner, so he is not required to deduct TDS under section 194C, 194H and 194J because he does not have any business income in the last year. Contract payment he made in current year, the contract payment for reconstruction of residential house amounting to 48 lakh. See, 194C is not applicable. Why? Because he does not have any business, so it is outside the purview of section 194C because 194C provides relaxation to individual and HUF whose turnover in the last financial year is less than 1 crore. Here the turnover is 0. 194M is also not applicable because the payment is less than 50 lakh. Because the payment is less than 50 lakh. Is that clear, everyone? Up till now it is clear, yes or no? So that I'll move forward to next section, that is 194C. Obviously, Muhammad. All the best, Keshav. Payer's point of view, see, TDS is required to be deducted by payer only. So we need to check turnover and everything with payer's perspective only, na? Chalo, next is section 194N, that is TDS on cash withdrawal. So if you are making any withdrawal from bank, cooperative society or post office, so here the payer is bank, cooperative society or post office. So if you are withdrawing any amount from your account from bank, cooperative society or post office and the cash withdrawal not direct payment. Okay, if you are making payment directly from your account, or you are giving any check to someone, then this provision is not applicable. It is specifically for cash withdrawal. So if you are withdrawing any amount from your bank account and the withdrawal amount during the financial year, if your withdrawal amount is more than 1 crore, then the bank will deduct TDS at the rate of 2%. At the rate of 2%. An amount. See, up till now, what we have studied that the TDS, if the TDS is applicable, then TDS is required to be deducted on entire amount. Then TDS is required to be deducted on entire amount. Okay, but here the word written is cash exceeding 1 crore. So say for example, I am withdrawing from my bank account 1.2 crore. That is 1 crore 20 lakh. So bank will deduct TDS on amount exceeding 1 crore. That is exceeding 1 crore. How much it will come? 20 lakh. So bank will deduct 2% TDS on 20 lakh withdrawal. This deduction is to be made at the time of payment because the bank will not know how much amount you will withdraw. Okay. But there is some change. What? Say for example, Mr. X is withdrawing in financial year 22-23, 1 crore 20 lakh. Just a minute. Huh? Yeah. So say for example, Mr. X in financial year 22-23 withdraw 1 crore 20 lakh. And in last 3 financial year, that is 21-22, 2021 and 19-20. If Mr. X has not filed return of income for all the 3 preceding financial year, then in that case, in current year, bank will deduct TDS if the withdrawal is more than 20 lakh. If the withdrawal is more than 20 lakh. See, if you are filing regular return of income, then your threshold limit is 1 crore. If you are withdrawing more than 1 crore, then only bank will deduct TDS. But if you have not filed return of income for all the 3 years, all the last 3 years, then bank will deduct TDS at the rate of 2% for a withdrawal amount more than 20 lakh but less than or equal to 1 crore. So in our case, it is 1 crore 20 lakh. So up to 20 lakh, no TDS. Greater than 20 lakh, but up to 1 crore, that is on 80 lakh, 2% TDS. And amount exceeding 1 crore, that is on 20 lakh, 5% TDS. Is that clear, everyone? So if you have not filed return of income for last 3 years, all the 3 years, then the threshold will come to 20 lakh. So up to 20 lakh, no TDS. 20 lakh to 1 crore, whatever amount you will withdraw, the TDS is 2%. And above 1 crore, whatever amount you withdraw, the TDS is 5%. Is that clear? Now, non-applicability of section 194N. When bank will not deduct TDS even if you are withdrawing more than 1 crore. So if the pay, that is who the person who is withdrawing amount is government, the banking company, say one banking company is withdrawing amount from another banking company as per the guideline of RBI, and white label ATM operator of a banking company. Okay. Now there are certain other exceptions are also given to whom the 194M is not applicable. So the cash replenishment agency and franchisee agent of white label automated teller machine operator. See, these are those person who withdraw the amount and fill the ATM machine. In the morning, every day, the truck will come and refill the ATM machine so that for entire day, people can withdraw amount from ATM. Okay. So for that purpose, they need more cash, right? So the cash replenishment agency and white label automated teller machine operators are allowed to withdraw more than 1 crore and the bank will not deduct TDS on that payment. But they should have approval of RBI and they should provide certificate to the bank that we are the agent and we are approved by the RBI that we can withdraw TDS. Same is with commission agent or trader operating in APMC, that is Agriculture Produce Market Committee. See, what they need to do, they need to make payment to the farmers, various farmers. Okay. So the payment may be more than 1 crore. So they can also withdraw amount more than 1 crore and bank will not deduct TDS under section 194N. But they should obtain the certificate from the RBI and the certificate should be given to the bank. Another is authorized dealer of foreign currency exchange, right? If someone is going abroad for a tour, then they need foreign currency. If someone is coming back to India, then also they need Indian currency in exchange of foreign currency. Okay. So the currency exchanger can also withdraw more than 1 crore from his bank account and bank will not deduct TDS, but only and only if they obtain the approval from RBI and they provide the certificate to the bank. Okay. Bhumika, in case of loss also you need to file return of income. That we will study in the chapter of provision for return filing. If you are having loss, then also you need to compulsorily file return of income. And that provision is applicable if for all the 3 years you have not filed return. If any in 1 year or 2 year you have filed return, then that exception is not applicable. Then the limit is 1 crore only. Okay. Next is TDS on certain payment by e-commerce operator to e-commerce participants. That is section 194O. See here, I'll explain with simple example. That is Amazon and customer. If Mr. X order watch of Titan from Amazon, then Mr. X will make payment to the Amazon for the purchase of watch, and Amazon will make payment to Titan. So here, Titan is considered as e-commerce participant, and Amazon is considered as e-commerce operator, right? So whatever amount paid by customer to Amazon, the Amazon need to reimburse the same to the Titan because the product is of Titan, right? So here, whatever product is sold by Titan through Amazon, while making the payment or credit, whichever is earlier, the Amazon will deduct TDS at the rate of 1%. At the rate of 1% on any amount due to Titan. On any amount due to Titan, because Amazon is providing platform. Okay. So Amazon will deduct TDS at the rate of 1%. So that government will know that how much sale to be made through e-commerce. Okay. The time of deduction is payment or credit, whichever is earlier. The deemed credit means if someone is directly making payment to the Titan, then also the Amazon is need to deduct TDS on that payment also. This provision is not applicable if your total sale through Amazon is less than 5 lakh rupees. Is less than 5 lakh rupees. Then the TDS is not required to be deducted under 194M. Now, if TDS is required to be deducted under this section, then any other provision of this chapter, that is any other section of TDS, is not applicable. So if e-commerce operator is required to deduct TDS under section 194O, then on same payment, the TDS is not required to be deducted in any other section of this chapter, any other section of TDS chapter. Obviously, the government have power to issue guideline if there is any difficulties. Now, payment gateway. Amazon, Titan, customer. Now, customer is making payment to Amazon through Paytm. If a customer, Sushil, listen carefully. If a customer is say for example, if you are purchasing anything online, say for example through Amazon, then you will make payment for that product to the Amazon. The Amazon will make payment of that product to the brand, right? So if you are purchasing watch from Amazon, watch of Titan from Amazon, then you are making payment to Amazon for purchase of that watch. Now that product is of Titan. So Amazon will make payment of that watch to the Titan. So Amazon will deduct TDS at the rate of 1% on payment made to Titan. Clear, Sushil? Now here, my dear friend, say for example, Mr. X purchased a watch of Titan from Amazon and Mr. X is making payment through Paytm to the Amazon. Now there are two e-commerce operators. That is, one is Paytm, who is providing payment gateway, and another is Amazon through which the Titan sold his product. So now both are required to deduct TDS, Amazon as well as Paytm. So there is double deduction or double taxation. Okay. So there is double taxation. So now the government will issue a clarification that in that case, the payment gateways, that is Paytm, is not required to deduct TDS. Only Amazon will deduct TDS. Otherwise, on the same amount, the Paytm will also deduct TDS and Amazon will also deduct TDS. Okay. So the government will provide guideline that the payment gateways, that is Amazon, Google Pay, UPI, Bharat Pay, they are not required to deduct TDS if e-commerce operator, that is Amazon, will deduct TDS. Okay, here the meaning of e-commerce operator participant is given that we have already know. So if you have any doubt, just let me know. We'll have a break of 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, we'll start with section 194P. Is that clear? Mr. Manish, we are on break 10 Okay. Yeah. So next is section 194P. That is deduction of tax by a specified bank in case of specified senior citizen. Now, my dear friend, for you, the meaning of senior citizen is of the person whose age is more than 60 years in the previous year, as per income tax, that is financial year, right? But here, the word written is specified senior citizen. So now what is specified senior citizen? First, we'll discuss the definition of specified bank. A banking company is notified by central government, that is the specified bank. And specified senior citizen means an individual being a resident in India. So first condition is he should be resident in India, who is of the age of 75 years or more at any time during the previous year. So the age of that senior citizen should be 75 years or more for this particular section, okay? Second condition is, third condition. First is he should be resident. Second is his age is 75 years or more. Third condition is having only pension income, and he should not have other income except interest income received or receivable from any account maintained by such individual in the same specified bank in which he is receiving his pension income. So this condition says that the specified senior citizen is having only pension income, and other than that, he is only having interest income from the same bank in which his pension income is credited. Mohammed, whatever amount you are making to the Titan, on that amount Amazon will deduct TDS, na? The sale of Amazon, how will affect the Titan? Say, for example, Amazon is paying X amount to the Titan, X amount to the Rado, X amount to the Baggett. Then whatever amount they are giving to the respective e-commerce participant, on that they will deduct TDS. Anyways, come here. So if the senior citizen is having only pension income and the interest income, and both are credited in the same bank account, and he has furnished a declaration to the bank that such particular, that the amount of interest, amount of pension, the amount of deduction he wants to claim under chapter 6A. Okay, that is deduction. Then this section is applicable. Now, to avoid the hardship to the specified senior citizen, that to whom the age is more than 75 years, this provision is specifically applicable or come into force. So what happened here, my dear friend, that specified individual will inform to the bank that you need to deduct TDS on my entire income, so that they don't need to file return of income. So what bank will do? Bank will determine his income, that is pension income plus interest income, that is his total income. They deduct the deduction allowable under chapter 6A. They will consider the rebate under 87A, and whatever the tax liability will come, they will deduct TDS, exactly the amount of tax liability, and deposit the same to the government. So in that case, the senior citizen is not required to file his return of income. The specified senior citizen, that is those whose age is 75 years or that clear? Let us discuss illustration number 11. You will get better understanding. Mr. Sharma, a resident, aged 77 years, get a pension of 52,000 per month from UP state government. Pension is taxable under the head salary. The same is credited to his saving account in SBI Lucknow branch. In addition, he get interest at 8% per annum on fixed deposit of 20 lakh with the same bank. So he is having fixed deposit of 20 lakh with the same bank, that is SBI Lucknow branch. Out of the deposit of 20 lakh, 2 lakh represent 5-year term deposit made by him on 1st April 22. So can we consider this 2 lakh as deduction under section 80C, 5-year term deposit? Yes or no? Interest on saving bank credited to his SBI account for the previous year 22-23 is 9,500. We need to calculate the interest on fixed deposit also, right? Because the amount of interest on fixed deposit is not given, but deposit amount is given and the rate of interest is given, right? So first question is, from the above fact, compute the total income and tax liability of Mr. Sharma for assessment year 23-24, assuming that he has not adopted for section 115 BAC. So he is not adopted for section 115 BAC. Now what is his total income? 52,000 per month pension into 12 months. So the pension income is 6,24,000. Pension is taxable under the head salary. So standard deduction 50,000 is available. Yes. So net salary income is 5,74,000. He is having saving interest 9,500. He has 20 lakh fixed deposit on which 8% interest is received. So the interest is on fixed deposit is 1,60,000. Yes or no? So total interest income is 1,69,500. So his total income comes to 7,43,500. Everyone clear with gross total income? Yes or no? Everyone? Everyone is clear with gross total income? Yes or no? Please reply. Now he'll get deduction under section 80C with respect to 1,50,000 because he has made 2 lakh fixed deposit, 5-year term deposit to the bank. Okay, so maximum deduction is available is 1,50,000 under 80C. Right? And he is a he is a senior citizen. So he will get 50,000 deduction as in from his interest income, that is interest on FD or saving. So 50,000 deduction is available under section 80 TTB. What exemption for pension not taken? Mr. Mohammed, can you explain, please? From pension income, the standard deduction is taken. It is the monthly pension, uncommuted. So 2 lakh deduction under chapter 6 is available. So his total income comes to 5,43,500. Now we need to calculate the tax liability on 5,43,500. Right? So he is senior citizen. So up to 3 lakh. Tax is 0. 3 lakh to 5 lakh. 5%, that is 10,000. 5 lakh to 5,43,500, that is on 43,500, tax is 20%. So it comes to 8,700. So total tax liability 18,700 plus 4% health and education cess. Tax liability comes to 19,448, round off to 19,450. So first question is calculate the tax liability. We have calculated the same. Clear? Now, second question is, what would be the amount of tax deductible at source by SBI, assuming that the same is a specified bank? Is Mr. Sharma required to file his return of income for 23-24 assessment year if tax deductible at source has been fully deducted? Examine. So he is specified individual because his age is more than 75 years. Yes. He is having only 2 income, that is pension and interest, and both are credited in the same bank account, right? So the bank is deducted TDS under section 194P. What is the amount of TDS? That is 19,450. Okay. Sorry. So if bank has deducted TDS under section 194P, that is 19,450, then Mr. Sharma is not required to file return of income because all the condition of section 194P is satisfied. Third question, is Mr. Sharma is required to file his return of income for assessment year 23-24 if the fixed deposit of 20 lakh was with Canara Bank instead of SBI, other facts remaining same? Yes. In third question, Mr. Sharma is required to file return of income. Why? Because he is having interest income from other bank, not from the same bank in which the pension is credited. Okay, clear everyone with section 194P? Everyone clear with that? Just go through once. Everyone clear with this? Yes or no? Now, first we'll discuss section 194R and the statutory updates of section 194R. And after that, we'll discuss section 194Q along with section 2061H. I'll explain both the section together. Okay, so first come on page number 9.72, that is section 194R. It is the new section. In last exam itself, the question from this section is asked in the exam for 6 marks. Okay. Deduction of tax at source on benefit or perquisite in respect of business or profession. So what this section says, if any benefit or perquisite is given in the course of business to the person other than employee of the company, because if you are providing any benefit to the employee of the company, then TDS is required to be deducted under section 192. So this provision is applicable if you are providing Varsha. So if you are providing any benefit other than an employee of the company, say for example, if you are providing a gold coin to your customer, right? So customer is not employee of the company. So is it a benefit? Yes, because for good, few further course of business, you are for further deal or for better long-term deal, you are providing benefit. Or generally at the time of Diwali, the company is providing some benefits to their high revenue customer, etc. Okay, so if you are providing any benefit or perquisite in the course of business, then you need to deduct TDS at the rate of 10%. You need to deduct TDS at the rate of 10% if the value of perquisite is more than 20,000. If the value of perquisite is more than 20,000. Where the benefit is wholly in kind or partly in kind and partly in cash, then payer will make sure that the proper amount of tax is deducted and paid to the government. Non-applicability. This section is not applicable if the value of perquisite is less than 20,000. Say, for example, you are giving sweets or worth rupees 500 to your customer, then this provision is not applicable because the value of benefit or perquisite is less than 20,000 rupees. And this section is not applicable to those individual and HUF whose turnover in the last financial year is less than 1 crore. And if they are into the profession, then their professional receipts are less than 50 lakh. The CBDT has issued detailed guideline that 12 questions they have given. We'll discuss the same. Okay. Who is responsible for a person responsible for providing is a company or principal officer of the company. Now let us discuss the detailed question answer given by everyone clear with the provision of section 194R. 194R is specifically for the benefits given to customer. And the rate of TDS is 10%. If the value of benefits is more than 20,000, then only TDS is required to be deducted. Okay. This section is not applicable to those individual and HUF whose turnover in the last financial year is less than 1 crore. Clear? Now we will discuss the guideline issued by the CBDT. Everyone clear up till now? Yes or no? Please answer fast. Bachao, please. Everyone clear up till now? Please answer. Varsha, Bhumika, Muhammad, Komal, Sushil, Keshav. Question number 1 given by the CBDT that is it necessary that person providing benefit or perquisite need to check if the amount is taxable under section 28 before deducting tax under section 194R? No. As a payer, you are not required to check whether the same is taxable under the head PGBP to the payee or some other section or anything else. Okay. What you need to check as a payer, if I am providing benefit to someone else and the benefit is more than 20,000, then I need to deduct TDS at the rate of 10%. Whether the person is offering the income under section 28, under section 56, under section 41, it is none of my business. What I need to check, whether the benefit is more than 20,000, yes, then I need to deduct TDS under section 194 at the rate of 10%. That's it. Okay. Second question, is it necessary that the benefit or perquisite must be in kind? No, it is not compulsory that it can be in kind, it can be in cash or partly in kind, partly in cash. It is not necessary that you are providing only gold coin to the customer. Okay. Is it necessary? Is there any requirement to deduct tax under section 194R when the benefit or perquisite is in the form of capital asset? We have already discussed in question number 1 that you need to check whether it is a capital receipt in the hand of customer, capital asset in the hand of customer or not. What you need to check, if you are providing any perquisite or any benefit to your customer, then you need to deduct TDS at the rate of 10% under section 194R if the value of perquisites are more than 20,000. Say for example, if you are providing car or land to your customer, okay, so that is the capital asset. Muhammad, how there is a chances of double taxation? Can you please explain? There is no double taxation. I am providing benefit and benefit to someone is also taxable as business or as other sources income. I have already told you that I need to calculate my final tax liability and I need to deduct TDS from that final tax liability. I'll get the relief of whatever amount of tax deducted on my behalf. So how there is a double taxation? So say for example, someone is given car, right? Then car is capital asset or land is capital asset in the hand of recipient. Okay. So I no need to check whether there is a capital asset or not. I need to deduct TDS if the value of benefit is more than 20,000. If loan settlement by a bank is to be treated or waiver by bank is to be treated as benefit, it would lead hardship as the bank would need to incur the additional cost of tax deduction in addition to haircut that he has taken. Will Section 194R apply in such situation? So the CBDT has issued a notification that if the public financial institution, scheduled bank, cooperative society, any banking company or NBFC, if they are making one-time settlement scheme, see, they generally bank issue one-time settlement scheme on which they will give some relaxation to the payer, at least some amount they will get recover. Okay. So in that case, 194R is not required to be applicable and bank is not required to deduct TDS. But that is only for banking. How is the valuation of benefit or perquisite is required to be carried out? So if I purchase gold coin and I give the gold coin to the customer, then what is the value of perquisite? The purchase price I incur, right? Say for example, I manufacture the laptop and I give one laptop to my customer as benefit. Then what is the cost of perquisite? The value of that laptop I charge into the other customer. Okay, so the market price. Clear everyone? Up till now clear? Yes or no? Please answer, my dear friends. Otherwise, how will I know that you get my point? Yes or no? Many a time a social media influencer is given a product of manufacturing company so that he can use that product and make audio or video to speak about that product in social media. Is this product given to such influencer a benefit or perquisite? See, my dear friend, now for advertisement purpose, if some product is given to social media influencer, then that product is not considered to be a perquisite if after the advertisement or after the use of that product, the influencer is returned back that product to the company. Okay, but say for example, for the that say for example, there is one ad of mobile phone. Okay, so the mobile phone given to the influencer is not treated as perquisite if after using that mobile phone, the influencer will return back that mobile phone to the company. But if influencer will take that mobile phone, then only that is considered to be a perquisite and the manufacturing company of mobile phone is required to deduct TDS. Okay, if the product is retained with the influencer, then it is considered to be a perquisite. Otherwise, it will not consider to be a perquisite. Section 194R provide that if benefit or perquisite is in kind or partly in kind, and the cash is not sufficient to meet the TDS, then person responsible for providing such benefit or perquisite is required to ensure that tax required to be deducted has been paid in respect of benefit or perquisite before releasing the benefit or perquisite. How can such person be satisfied that tax has been deposited? How will you know? So say for example, if you are giving any laptop to the customer, then entire laptop is the in kind, right? So how will you know that how to deduct TDS? And so in that case, the customer, it is free of cost, right? See, if you are selling the customer, then this provision is not applicable. It is benefit or perquisite that is given free of cost. Okay. So say for example, I give laptop to my customer free of cost. Then how will I know? How will I make sure that the TDS is deposited on the same? Say for example, the value of laptop is 1 lakh rupees. So I need to deduct 10,000 TDS. So in that case, you should have to ask your customer that you need to make advance payment of tax of rupees 10,000. You have to obtain declaration from your customer that they have deposited 10,000 tax on the laptop to the government. Okay. And after that, you can release the laptop to them. So it is your duty as a payer to make sure that tax has been deposited on the value of perquisite. Next question is, company A gift a car to its dealer B and deducted tax on this benefit. Dealer B use this car in his business. Will he get deduction for depreciation in calculating his income under the head PGBP? Obviously, yes. Why? Because the benefit is given, right? And the TDS is deducted on that amount. So tax is deposited. Now Mr. B is using that car. Mr. B has also included that benefit in his return of income, that I have received that amount, that much amount of car. Okay. So now the benefit, value of benefit, say for example, I received the car of 10 lakh rupees, then I need to mention in my return that I have received the car of 10 lakh. I need to pay tax on that. Now for me, the 10 lakh rupees is cost of car because I have already paid tax on that 10 lakh rupees, right? So I can claim depreciation on that car if that car is using for my business purpose. Now this section is applicable with effect from 1st July 22 and the limit is 20,000 for financial year. So now the question arises, if the 20,000 limit exceeds on the value or perquisite given from 1st April to 1st July, then what should we do? So in that case, we need not require to deduct TDS on the benefit given from 1st April to 30th June. Okay. Now onwards from 1st July, whatever we will provide as benefit, we need to deduct TDS. So that 20,000 limit you need to check as financial year, not with effect from 1st July. Whether the issuance of bonus share, right share is a benefit or perquisite if issued by a company in which public are substantially interested? No. It is not perquisite because bonus shares are given to every shareholder. And when shareholder will sell the bonus share, see, the holding will not change, the percentage of holding will not change because of bonus share, because bonus share are given to every shareholder. And when at the time of sale of bonus share, the cost of acquisition is nil. Okay. So the seller of bonus share will offer the entire sale consideration as capital gain. So in that case, issue of bonus share or right share is not considered as benefit or perquisite, and TDS is not required to be deducted under section 194R. Clear, everyone? Now come back to section 194Q. If you have any doubt, just tell me. I'll make one table, 194Q and 206. Now, first I'll explain the concept of TCS in short. TCS full form is tax collected at source. So in that case, it is responsibility of seller to collect from the buyer TCS. Say for example, I am paying 70 lakh rupees for purchase of goods. Then seller will collect TCS 70 lakh plus TCS from the buyer and deposit the same to the government on behalf of buyer. That is called as TCS. Okay, so TCS is collected by seller from the buyer and deposited the same on behalf of buyer to the government. Now, there are two sections. What happened before 2 years? The government issued first section 2061H. After that, they issue section 194Q. Now, I'll explain. First, 206C1H. As per section 206C1H, 206 is a series of TCS. What 2061H says that as per section 206C1H, if seller is selling goods and receiving more than 50 lakh rupees from a particular customer. Say for example, Reliance is selling goods worth rupees 70 lakh to XYZ Private Limited. So it is more than 50 lakh? Yes. Then at the time of receipt, that means whenever the 70 lakhs the Reliance will receive. So if in current year, Reliance will receive more than 50 lakh from XYZ Private Limited, then on amount exceeding 50 lakh, Reliance will collect 0.1% TCS from that customer. Say for example, Reliance collects 70 lakh from XYZ Private Limited. So Reliance will collect TCS on 20 lakh at 0.1%. Clear? Reliance will collect 20 lakh at 0.1% on 20 lakh as TCS from XYZ Private Limited. Everyone clear with that? Here, the seller means, now this section is applicable to those sellers whose turnover in the last financial year is more than 10 crore. So, say for example, there is one company, ABC Private Limited, and in last financial year, the turnover of ABC Private Limited is, say for example, 8 crore rupees. So in current year, whatever amount he collect from his customer, no TCS is required to be collected. Why? Because he is outside the definition of seller. So here, the turnover of the seller should be more than 10 crore in the last financial year. So in our case, the turnover of Reliance in the last financial year is, say for example, 100 crore. And in current year, he sold goods worth rupees 70 lakh to XYZ Limited, and XYZ Limited will make the payment of 70 lakh. So the payment is more than 50 lakh, yes or no? That means the receipt of Reliance from XYZ Limited is more than 50 lakh, yes. So on exceeding 50 lakh, the value is 70 lakh, 20 lakh. 70 lakh minus 50 lakh comes to 20 lakh, Varsha. TCS is required to be collected an amount exceeding 50 lakh. So Reliance will receive 70 lakh. The threshold is 50 lakh. So on 20 lakh, Reliance will collect TCS at the rate of 1%. Here the TCS is required to be collected at the time of receipt. At the time of receipt. See, my dear friend, here the word they used is receipt. So you no need to check whether the TDS GST is included or not. Whatever amount you receive, if the receipt is more than 50 lakh, you need to collect TCS. Everyone clear with the provision of TCS? Yes or no? Please reply because this provision is very important. Okay. If this provision is clear, after that I'll explain 194Q. Otherwise, you will not get the provision of 194Q. Everyone clear with the section 2061H? It is applicable to seller whose turnover in the last financial year is more than 10 crore and in current year the concept is same normal as TDS to regular inflow of taxes to the government, and government will take record that how much amount someone is paying to someone else. Press the records. And if the seller is receiving more than 50 lakh from particular customer, then on amount exceeding 50 lakh, they need to collect TDS at the rate of 0.1%. Clear? Now, after introduction of TCS, the government will insert a new section, that is 194Q. It is the same provision as 206C1H. Now, what 194Q says? As per section 194Q is applicable to buyer. Now, what is the definition of buyer? So, buyer is the person whose turnover in the last financial year is more than 10 crore. So, same as seller, right? And if buyer is purchasing goods more than 50 lakh from particular seller. So say for example, XYZ Limited purchased the goods more than 50 lakh from Reliance, then and if the turnover of XYZ Limited in the last financial year is more than 10 crore, say for example, turnover of XYZ Private Limited in last year is 12 crore and he is purchasing goods of rupees 70 lakh from Reliance. Okay, then XYZ Limited need to deduct TDS on amount exceeding 50 lakh. That is on 20 lakh, XYZ Limited need to deduct TDS at the rate of 0.1%. And the time of deduction of TDS is payment or credit, whichever is earlier. Clear everyone? 194Q is from buyer's perspective. If I am purchasing any, if cost condition, you need to check whether in last year my turnover is more than 10 crore or not. If it is more than 10 crore, then in current year, if I am purchasing any goods more than 50 lakh rupees, then on amount exceeding 50 lakh, I need to deduct TDS at the rate of 0.1%. The time of deduction is payment or credit, whichever is earlier. Everyone clear with the concept of 194Q? 194Q is from buyer's perspective. 206C1H is from seller perspective. Everyone clear? 194Q require TDS at the time of payment or credit, whichever is earlier. 206C1H required to collect TCS at the time of receipt. Everyone clear with this, yes or no? Now the question arises. In this case, in our example, turnover of Reliance is also more than 15 crore in last year. And he is collecting 70 lakhs for sale of goods from XYZ Limited. Now, there is a double taxation, yes or no? Because on same 20 lakh, XYZ Limited will deduct TDS and on same 20 lakh, Reliance will collect TCS. Yes or no? Everyone got my point? See here, the turnover of buyer is also more than 10 crore. The turnover of seller is also more than 10 crore in the last financial year. The value of sale is more than 50 lakh. That the value of purchase is more than 50 lakh. Yes or no? So buyer will deduct TDS at 0.1%, seller will collect TCS at 0.1%. Then what happened? So the government will give clarification that in that cases, if TDS is applicable under section 194Q, then on the same value, the seller is not required to collect TCS. Then on the same value, the seller is not required to collect TCS. So in our case, the buyer is eligible, so the TDS is override the TCS. Okay. So in our case, if XYZ Limited is deducted TDS, then Reliance is not required to collect TCS. But say for example, in the last financial year, the turnover of XYZ Limited is 8 crore. So then 10 crore in the last year? Yes. Then in that case, seller, the seller is not required to. Everyone clear with this? Please reply, my dear friends, so that I'll discuss the guideline issued by the government. Please reply, clear everyone, yes or no? Mohammad, Kavita, Varsha, Sushil. Now GST. So in case of purchase of goods, TDS is not required to be deducted on GST component. But yes, if you see that GST is required to be deducted, TDS is required to be deducted at the time of payment or credit, whichever is earlier. So if the credit is earlier, that is if you are receiving an invoice and you are booking the same, then TDS is not required to be deducted on GST component. But if you are making advance payment, that is the payment is in advance, then you should not have any idea from payment amount what is the component towards GST. So in case of advance payments, TDS is required to be deducted on entire payment. If the credit is earlier, then the TDS is required to be deducted on component without GST. Clear? In case of non-resident, this provision is not applicable. This provision is not applicable if the income of seller is exempt and the specific declaration is given by the seller. Okay, then TDS is not required to be deducted. On advance payment, yes, TDS is required to be deducted because the provision says payment or credit, whichever is earlier. Will this provision is applicable in case of new in first year of incorporation? No, my dear friend, because last year there is no business, the turnover is not to be deducted. Again, this provision is not applicable if the turnover is less than 10 crore. Applicability of provision of section 194Q in case of Department of Government not being a public sector undertaking. So in case of Department of Government, which is not carrying out any business or commercial activity, then TDS is not required to be deducted. Now, if you are selling goods, then the e-commerce operator will deduct TDS if the goods are sold through e-commerce operator, right? So if TDS is deducted under 194O, then TDS or TCS is not deducted under section 194Q, because we have already discussed under 194O that if the TDS is required to be deducted under section 194O, then any other provision of this chapter is not applicable. Okay, so let us discuss illustration number 12 quickly, so you will get better idea. Mr. Gupta, a resident Indian, is a retail business and his turnover for financial year 21-22 was 12 crore. So it is more than 10 crore. He regularly purchased goods from another resident, Mr. Agrawal, a wholesaler, and the aggregate payment during financial year 22-23 was 95 lakh. 20 lakh on 1/6/22, 25 lakh on 12/8/22, 22 lakh on 23/11/22, 28 lakh on 25/22. Assume that the said amount were credited to Mr. Agarwal's account in the books of account of Mr. Gupta on the same date. Mr. Agarwal's turnover for the financial year 21-22 was 15 crore. Based on the above fact, examine TDS or TCS implication, if any, under the Income Tax Act 1961. So here, my dear friend, Mr. Gupta is a buyer, Mr. Agrawal is a seller. And turnover of Mr. Gupta in the last financial year was more than 10 crore. Same Mr. Agrawal's turnover in the last financial year is more than 10 crore. But here, purchase value of goods is more than 50 lakh rupees. So TDS is required to be deducted by Mr. Gupta on amount exceeding 50 lakh. That is, the total value of goods is for 95 lakh rupees. Yes or no? So total value of goods is 95 lakh rupees. So up to 50 lakh, no TDS. So on balance 45 lakhs, 0.1% TDS is required to be deducted by Mr. Gupta. Right? Would your answer be changed if Mr. Gupta's turnover for financial year 21-22 was 8 crore, all the other fact remaining same? Yes. In that case, in first case, Mr. Agarwal is not required to collect TDS because there is a TDS. So he is not required to collect TCS. Now in second case, Mr. Gupta is not required to deduct TDS under section 194Q. Why? Because the turnover of Mr. Gupta in the last financial year is less than 10 crore. Okay. So in that case, Mr. Agarwal is required to deduct TDS at the rate of 0.1%. Right. So Mr. Agarwal is required to collect TCS at the rate of 0.1% on 45 lakh rupees on receipt basis. Right, everyone? Everyone clear with this? Would your answer to 1 and 2 change if PAN has not been furnished by the buyer or the seller as required? Yes. See, if buyer has not provided, in first case, that is if Mr. Agarwal has not provided the PAN to the Mr. Gupta, then Mr. Gupta is required to deduct TDS at the rate of 5%. That is the higher rate. That is the higher rate for 194Q. The higher rate is 5%, not the 20%. So in that case, Mr. Gupta is required to deduct TDS at the rate of 5%. And in second case, if Mr. Gupta has not furnished PAN to Mr. Agarwal, then Mr. Agarwal will collect TCS at the rate of 1% instead of 0.1% because the higher rate. See, we have discussed the rate prescribed in the Finance Act, the rate provided in section, and the 20%, whichever is higher. But for section 194Q, the higher is 5%, and for section 206C1H, the higher is 1% instead of 20%. Is that clear, everyone? Yes or no? Up till now, everyone is clear with the provisions? Yes or no? Please reply. Everyone clear with the provision up till now? Yes or no? Okay, so we'll continue from income. So your TDS chapter, TDS portion is completed. In next lecture, we'll discuss the advanced tax and TCS component. Okay, so I'll end the today's session. Have a good day, everyone. Mr. Manish.